In order to get a bank loan, you generally have to prove to the bank that you don't need the money. In other words, no collateral, no loan. We know of a bank that works the other way around. You have to prove you're broke before you can get a loan. It is truly a poverty bank, and it's located in just about the poorest country, Bangladesh, a misbegotten nation at the corner of the Indian subcontinent whose problems make our own seem insignificant. Welcome to Dhaka, capital of Bangladesh, the world's graveyard of good intentions. It's also among the world's most broken down countries and among its biggest recipients of international aid. Yet it grows poorer with each passing year, poorer with each vanishing billion. Part of the reason is Bangladesh's unofficial reputation as being among the most corrupt countries in the world. Part of the reason is that grandiose projects that get implanted here somehow never seem to affect people's lives. Whatever you may think of Henry Kissinger, it's hard to argue with a remark he once made that this place is the world's basket case.
Kissinger said that in '73. I think he probably did permanent damage to the psyche of this country.
Susan Davis works for the Ford Foundation in Bangladesh. She's watched the effects of aid, good and bad.
The psychology of poverty and of aid dependency, of constantly being a failure, of being whipped and battered by every disaster you can think of. Flood, drought, famine, tornadoes, cyclones, fairy disasters. I mean, you name it, we have it. See, that's what makes Bangladesh an interesting aid playground, right? We have every problem here. You want a laboratory? Come here.
And people are coming, not to witness the familiar disasters of Bangladesh, but to examine one man's solution to its hopelessness: a bank. A bank that believes that credit is a fundamental human right, and thus lends money only to the poorest of the poor. Not aid, but credit. A few dollars to buy a tool for husking rice, or a calf, or a sewing machine. Assets that can, as hard as it may be to imagine it, change people's lives. So far, the barefoot borrowers have taken more than $100 million in loans, and virtually every cent of it has been paid back. Muhammad Yunus is the director of the Grameen, or Rural Bank. Average loan is
$67 right now, yeah. It's very small, but this is the kind of money people need to do things for themselves. Even then, that money is not available to them. And that, I think, is the basic cause of poverty, because people do not have access to resources.
Yunus first approached ordinary commercial banks, but they laughed at the idea of lending poor people money. So with a few small grants and loans from international donors, Yunus started the bank. In the upside-down world of Grameen banking, poverty is the only thing that qualifies a borrower, and the bank comes to the customer, not the other way round. This woman is one of 8,000 roving bankers. She's on her way to collect weekly payments. The borrowers gather at the bank center. Each of the 5-man rows represents a bank group. Each member is responsible for not only his installment, but for every debt owed by the group. The meeting ends with a compulsory exercise session. Then the official Grameen Bank salute, and off the banker goes for another collection. In order to establish the bank, Dr. Yunus says he had to unlearn all the theories of economic development he learned in the United States and was passing on to his students at Chittagong University.
I came here in 1972 with all the arrogance of a new PhD from a new American university. I thought I knew all the answers. And while I was doing that, I see things are not happening the way my textbook says. Economic situation in the country is going down and down and down. So I got very frustrated, and I started walking in the villages to find out what is their economics, what do they say. So that village became university for me to learn economics from them.
One of the first people he met was Sophia Khartoum, maker of stools. Ultimately, she became the first Grameen borrower, But first she taught him some economics. Because she had no capital, she was forced to borrow from a local trader to buy raw materials. She then sold them back to him at a price he set. Her profit, 2 cents a day.
2 cents a day. That's what I could not accept, why anybody should make only 2 cents for such a beautiful skill. So I said, if somebody had given her the money, if she didn't have to borrow from the trader, could she sell elsewhere and get more money? She said, yes, I can.
In order to become self-sufficient in the stool business, Sophia Khartoum needed working capital of $6. Eunice lent her the money, not a gift, a loan. Her profit soared from 2 cents a day to $1.25 a day.
It boggles your mind to see the difference that you can bring to people's life just by one small step. And it's unbelievable that people can do things for themselves.
What was your theory as an economist when you were up on the Hill teaching, your theory about poverty? Why did you think people were poor?
They are lazy. They don't want to work too hard. That's why they are poor. And you come here, you see the entirely different world. People are working like anything. I mean, working very hard to make that 2 penny a day. They have beautiful skills. They want to change their life. They're desperate to change their life.
Sophia Khartoum's income is 3 times the national average of $140 a year. She's been able to build a solid new house with a tin roof, a giant step up in the nightmarish poverty of Bangladesh. What's more, she says she's now able to feed her family.
Does she consider herself now a rich woman?
See, she wouldn't say that. It's not rich. She said, I'm not that rich. I was too poor at that time. Now I can live with myself. I can take care of myself. That's the difference.
What began as a personal response to Sophia Khartoum in 1976 has become an institution today. There are 500,000 borrowers with 500,000 tiny loans, made at an interest rate of 16%. The default rate is absurdly low. 98% of all loans are paid back within a year. These people, the poorest of Bangladesh's poor, now have over $11 million in savings in the Grameen Bank. The headquarters in Dhaka is a monument to their persistence, concrete proof that little money can have big effect.
Why has all the big aid failed so badly?
I think the basic reason is people are left out. You're looking at projects and their so-called results, not what is happening to the people.
This is one horrible yet fairly typical example, the Great Fish Hatchery disaster. At a cost of I don't know how many millions in international aid, 108 fish farms were built. Not a single one has been a success. In some, like this one, the ponds simply dried up. They were dug in one of the few dry spots in all of Bangladesh. Others were mismanaged and just fell to ruin. If it were not so farcical, it would be heartbreaking to see all this expensive plumbing covered in cobwebs, holding tanks and circulating pumps that had never held a drop of water. A hatchery that's hatched nothing but despair. Despair that is evident when you go to a non-Grameen village like Sadak Nagar. I asked the people if anyone had ever seen a penny of the billions the nation received in foreign aid. They laughed. Some facts of life here. This man does not own his own rickshaw. He rents it for 50 cents a day. On a good day, he might make an additional 45 cents.
When you earn, the day you earn enough, you eat a little bit better. But the day you don't earn, you have little food and share among yourselves whatever you got.
Another driver is in the same situation.
He says, I can barely feed myself. Even that is not enough for the whole family. You look at my house, I cannot even put thatch on my roof. It's all rotting.
The poor of Bangladesh are beasts of eternal burden. The women thresh rice using a method as old as time. It has the grace of dancers at the ballet bar, but it is exhausting, mindless work. Women are the first victims of poverty. As a result, the bulk of the money the Grameen Bank lends goes to women borrowers. Yunus says they are more determined than men to break the eternal cycle of work and hunger and work. Rani Kamakar, for example, she'd never earned a penny. Her husband earned about 30 cents a day. They often missed meals and lived in a shack with a cardboard roof. 9 years ago, Rani joined the Grameen Bank with 4 other women. Her first loan was for $30. She bought a loom. With the second loan, she bought a second loom. Today, she owns 5 looms and employs 5 male weavers for $2 a day. Rani now earns more than $1,500 a year. She has a new house with a tin roof, and she sends her children to school. As the leader of her center, she works closely with the bank worker, checking each payment due.
A bank worker is the person who represents the Grameen Bank to the person, to the borrower right away. At the same time, a bank worker is also looked upon by the borrowers as a teacher, because he or she is the person who brings messages of a new life to the people, that life can be better.
Those messages passed from banker to borrower are in the form of slogans. They are called the 16 decisions. You hear them wherever borrowers are gathered. On the road to the town of Modapur, when borrowers heard that Yunus was passing through, they lined the road, chanting the decisions.
Saying that we will not work, will not slave for other people, we'll work for ourselves.
Well, what's the point of the slogans?
Most of the people don't read and write. So this is one way to remind themselves what they want to do and what they should do.
Would you say that, what, 80, 90, 100% of these people are illiterate?
I would say around 90% of them.
Decision number 7, we shall educate our children, seems to have caught on among the borrowers. In this center house in the district of Tangail, children of Grameen borrowers are learning their ABCs, preparing to enter public schools. There are about 5,000 schools like this one. The teachers' salaries are paid by the borrowers, who themselves are trying to break down the barriers of illiteracy.
It's not giving just money and taking it back and forget about you. It's people.
Each year, each branch has a celebration, a gathering of borrowers and their children, a field day for families, a county fair of the spirit for the poorest of the poor.
This bank is owned by them. 75% of the shares of this bank are owned by the poor people who borrow from us.
Yunus says the main beneficiaries of these celebrations are the children. For most of them, it's the only chance they'll have to be a part of something other than the daily ritual of hard labor. Forget the quality of the performance. For a moment on this dusty stage, there's somebody.
Yunus believes in hard work, in austerity, and self-reliance. Yunus believes that Bangladesh can develop itself.
Susan Davis oversees the Ford Foundation's participation in the Grameen Bank. Ford has been giving Grameen a small annual grant since its inception.
And because he is not corrupt, and because he lives his values, Yunus probably has given more hope, to this country than any other person. Yunus would be the Mahatma Gandhi. He would be in our terms, the Kennedy, the Martin Luther King, because what he is doing is leading a movement that goes beyond the borders of Bangladesh.
A number of countries are trying Yunus's method, including the United States. There's a poverty bank in Arkansas and another in Illinois. And there's a move to channel U.S. foreign aid to the neediest through a system of poverty banking.